Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Daily News Editorial. In this channel, we regularly cover editorial page section of newspaper. In today's video, I will be covering the Hindu newspaper editorial page article dated 4th of August, that's today. So let's begin. Getting back in business in the Indo-Pacific. The choreographed visit of three senior US officials are a part of the Biden administration's deliberate strategic refocus. United States President Joe Biden executed a bold diplomatic outreach to the Indo-Pacific region last month through carefully choreographed visits of his three top officials. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy R. Sherman, Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III, and Secretary of State Anthony J. Blinken. This is part of a deliberate strategic refocus away from the 20 years of Afghanistan and Iraq and towards maritime Asia, where COVID 19, climate change, and China are the compelling challenges. Assessing what the three American dignitaries sought and actually achieved is instructive in order to appreciate the impressive sweep of diplomacy and military strength of the world's top power, the United States. Their discussions would surely mold the geopolitical equations in the region. In East Asia and Oman, Mr. Sherman's visit, July 19 to 27, was actually the most complex since it covered not only Japan, South Korea, and Mongolia but also China. Throughout her trip, she reaffirmed the US commitment to working with allies and partners for the promotion of peace and prosperity and upholding a rules based order. The code word used for the code word critical of China's behavior. Her discussions with Japan Vice Foreign Minister Mori Takeo covered not only the present state of Japan-US alliance but also other issues including Myanmar and COVID-19. In addition, she participated in a trilateral meeting involving Japan and South Korea, perhaps in a bid to smoothen tension affiliations of the two East Asian neighbors. By visiting Ulaanbaatar, Mr. Sherman became the highest US dignitary to visit Mongolia since 2016. Despite its close relationship with Beijing, Mongolia looks for devices to assert its independence. So, the opportunity to discuss its needs and concerns with the new administration was valuable. In Tianjin, China, she had discussions with Vice Foreign Minister Li Yuchang, her counterpart, and was also received by Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Her main mission was to convey that the US welcomed competition but did not seek confrontation with China. She also discussed forthrightly the dismal human rights situation in Xinjiang and logistics for a possible Biden Xi Jinping meeting at the G20 summit in Rome in October. Southeast Asian dynamics. The visit by Mr. Austin, July 23 to 30, covering three important Asian member states, Singapore, Vietnam, and Philippines, turned out to be the most productive in that it reiterated the necessity for a US military presence in the region. As the Pentagon chief, Mr. Austin is heard with attention, particularly when he speaks with the candor of a veteran general. Beijing's claim to the vast majority of South China Sea has no basis in international law, he aptly asserted. While delivering the Fulton lecture on July 27, He listed China's other objectionable actions, including aggression against India, and then he sent out the key signal to Beijing: we will not flinch when our interests are threatened. Yet we do not seek confrontation. This seems to have resonated as Mr. Austin's discussions with leaders of the three countries went off exceptionally well. In a joint statement, Singapore and the US agreed that America's presence in the region is vital for its peace, prosperity, and stability. The US side appreciated Singapore's logistical support to US military aircrafts and vessels, while Singapore benefits from the arrangement of an Air Force fighter training detachment hosted in Guam, as well as new training facilities inside the US. Singapore could modulate its current inclination to move closer to China. Mr. Austin encouraged Vietnam to develop closer defense cooperation with the US. A new memorandum of understanding was signed to resolve the war legacy issues by creating a database to accelerate the search for those still missing in action. Mr. Austin's visit to Singapore and Vietnam will be followed shortly by US Vice President Kamala Harris. The Philippines leg produced a notable result as Manila agreed to full restoration of budgeting forces agreement, which provides the legal foundation for the US military presence in that country. In South Asia and Kuwait, Mr. Blinken's trip to Delhi and Kuwait drew attention for its positive outcomes. The India visit was more in the nature of a consultative, confirmatory dialogue rather than one that results in signing of new agreements. His discussions with Prime Minister, the National Security Advisor, and External Affairs Ministers brought out clearly that the areas of convergence between the two nations are expanding and the areas of divergence are shrinking. His repeated observation that the friendship with India is one of the closest that the US has was music to Indian ears. On Afghanistan, the proximity of perceptions was emphasized, although this did not conceal the differences in their perspectives. On the Indo Pacific, however, the convergence was clear, with the two foreign ministers agreeing to cooperate on a range of geopolitical and geoeconomic issues without uttering the C word, even once in their smoothly managed joint press conference. By clarifying that the Quad was not a military alliance, Mr. Blinken spoke the truth, tipping his hat to India's strategic autonomy. He defined the Quad as four like minded countries coming together to work collectively on regional challenges while reinforcing international rules and values. The takeaways. Together, what do these visits signal? First, that America's China policy and the rest of the Indo-Pacific policy will run in tandem, with inner consistency ensured by Mr. Biden. Second, Washington maintains a tough attitude towards Beijing, but it desires to keep the doors open for dialogue. The relationship with China is marked by three characteristics: adversarial, competitive, and cooperative, and is likely to stay that way. Third, the US is willing to resist the counter China firmly, but with the full engagement and on contribution by the like-minded states in the region. Thereafter, Mr. Austin's exposition of integrated deterrence, defined as using every military and non-military tool in our toolbox in lockstep with our allies and partners, assumes significance. In short, US is back and is willing to lead, but the region will have to seriously step up too and participate actively to maintain peace and prosperity. Asia can ill afford to be Asia can ill afford to be a reticent bystander. Rajiv Bhatia is Distinguished Fellow, Gateway House, and a former ambassador to Myanmar. That's end of the article. If you like my video, please subscribe, like, and comment.